talk about AI and sustainability. And I know this is like the hot topic this year. I know it's what everybody's talking about. And so I'm going to talk for a few minutes on kind of what we're seeing in the market. And then Lyndsay's going to talk about practically what they're doing at ServiceNow. And the truth is, with AI and sustainability, I don't think anybody truly knows what is happening. There's just too much uncertainty in terms of the technology, the policy. And so what I'm going to frame it around is things that I think are three good bets that we can make about what's going to happen. Things that, at least that I've personally come to believe working on the topic. So the first good bet is that AI is for real. So it's coming, it's real, it will have a real impact. And this is something that you're listening to this, you may think that that's totally obvious, or you may think that that's total hype, and people are very divided over it. We had a debate yesterday on exactly this topic, and about 70% of the audience finished the debate with a view that AI was more hype than reality, at least in the AI context. But I believe it's real for a couple of reasons, and in particular, the quality of the models, the quality of sensors, the cost of sensors, the data available all mean that something new is happening and it's going to be significant. And from an investment standpoint, just to take that, there's something like the Deloitte estimates are that the power demand for AI is going to about double in the next 5 years to about 130 to 140 terawatt hours. And so that's a pretty significant investment. It's a huge change for the industry. So if you think about the power and utilities industry has basically had no growth in demand for the last 3 or 4 decades, and are now seeing this real uptick in demand that really started in 2021, so it's already happening and is now continuing to accelerate. One of my favorite stats in this topic, when you look at data center infrastructure, and this is from Nat Bullard's presentation, is that data center infrastructure last year, so like actually the buildings for data centers, reached $31.5 billion, which is more than we spend on all healthcare infrastructure. So all hospitals, all clinics, we're spending more now on data centers, mostly AI data centers. So it's really significant. And then the topic that comes up a lot is, well, isn't that going to be terrible for sustainability because all this new power demand and the need to add generation? One of the things that we're seeing and that I believe is true going forward is that we'll be able to power a significant amount of that demand with clean energy. And so, in fact, over the past 5 years, 90% of all the new power that's gone on the grid in the United States has been clean power. Just in the last 5 months, according to FERC, we've added 15 gigawatts of electricity in the US between January and May of this year. 92 of that has been renewable. And so that's what we're going to see going forward. And the estimates are that for AI data center in particular, 80 to 90% of that demand can be met by clean power. And one of the things that's enabling that is battery storage. And this is just so people get an idea of what it looks like. So there's something like in 2024, 26 gigawatts of battery storage on the grid. That was up 60% from 2023. We're going to double again this year to about 50 gigawatts. And it looks like this. So it's basically containers on a concrete pad. You can put them really anywhere that you need firming on the grid. So you need the intermittency of the power to go down. And when you pair this with the renewables, it's allowing us to put a lot more renewables on the grid. And that's one of the reasons that, that so much of this new demand is going to be powered by clean energy. There's also something called virtual power plants, which is a complicated way of saying that you use all of the solar and batteries in people's houses and their vehicles to bring new power in the grid. And this is going to allow us to have a lot of the AI power generation to be from clean energy. And this is Ford and Duke Energy and DHL have a VPP in North Carolina that's using the Ford F-150 to put power back on the grid at peak times. Sunrun has a large VPP in California that's specifically being brought online for large loads from data centers and then also for grid reliability. And so this is another way that a lot of that power is going to be clean. And so good bet number one is that AI is for real. It's coming. There's going to be a lot of investment, and we can and must power it with clean energy. Good bet number two is that AI will be a net positive for decarbonization. And again, there's a lot of debate around this, but what we're seeing is Deloitte research is that 94% of CEOs say that AI is going to be critical to increase productivity in their companies. And productivity and efficiency inherently is good for sustainability because we do more with less. There are also some sustainability specific use cases. One of the ones that I'm most excited about is what we call physical AI, which is basically putting AI brains in robots out in complex environments in the real world. And that's something that's really taking off right now because of some of the advances in AI. This is a company that has robots to install utility scale solar farms. And so these are robots that can work in any weather, around the clock. They can install these solar cells that each weigh over 100 pounds. So it's actually very hard to do it without robotics. And they learn and they get better all of the time. And in some of the early pilots of this technology, it cuts the cost of installing solar in half. So it's really, really significant advantage. This is another one. This is a robot for fire control. And so the same thing, if you think about, we're seeing more prevalence of fires. This is a trial in California with SoCal Edison. And it's both dangerous for humans to do, and then you use the robots, they can work 24 hours a day, they can be put anywhere you want, any kind of weather, and have the ability to really, really change the way that we do things. There are also a lot of other sustainability specific use cases, so disaster response and wildfire forecasting, power grid efficiency, especially with all the renewables I talked about. It's really going to be impossible to operate the power grid without AI, with all renewables coming on. Transportation efficiency. And so this is a pilot that Google did with American Airlines to reduce contrails, which are the clouds that you see in the sky behind a plane. And they're responsible for about 35% of the total emissions from aviation. In this pilot, Google and American show that they can essentially eliminate contrails by giving routing information to the pilots, significantly reducing the emissions from aviation. Here's another example. This is something that Deloitte's built. It's a generative AI front end for traffic planning that allows many more people to access the traffic planning information and interact with these very complex systems they couldn't interact with before. This allows better timing of traffic lights, lower emissions from cars, better planning of roads, better use of asphalt, and is improving efficiency. And then there are also a lot of water and agriculture, precision agriculture use cases that we're starting to see in some trials in the Colorado River Basin. It's been able to cut precision ag with satellite sensors, and AI is able to cut water usage in half. And so these are the kinds of things that we're going to see coming on. And so good bet number two, there's a lot of unknowns, but AI is going to be a net positive for decarbonization. Good bet number three is that success will be about people in the end. And so if you think about the next couple of years, we're going to talk a lot about power, we're going to talk a lot about technology, and that's going to be an important part of the race. But the way that AI, the way that people collaborate and work with AI is really going to be the important success factor, and that we're going to see over the medium and long term. And the bad news about that is that, and I will say, and it's already starting, so we do an AI survey, 6 of 10 people already say that they see AI as a coworker in the office and are using AI in that way and recognize it in that way, so it's happening pretty fast. The bad news is that in that same Deloitte research, it doesn't really seem to be going all that well so far. So there have been a lot of problems. 77% of employees say that AI is increasing workloads and decreasing productivity. 61% worry it will increase burnout. A third feel reduced collaboration and fewer learning opportunities because of AI. And over half are concerned about blurred lines between human and machine work. And so there's a lot to work on. The positive there is that we're still very early in the adoption. And so there is time to work on this and get it right and work specifically on how we use AI, how we bring AI into workplaces and people's lives. And so there's time to get that right. And in the end, the skills that we think are going to be really important for people, the technical skills are going to be important, but it's really about curiosity, creativity, empathy, and those kinds of soft skills are going to be the ones that are really right, both to get the productivity benefits from AI, but then also to make it work for people and not be a negative. And so good bet number 3 is that it's going to be about people. It hasn't been going well so far, but we have a big opportunity to get that right. And so with that, I'll conclude and just want to turn it over to Lyndsay. And as we get started, I wanted to ask first about Climate Week. We're a couple of days in. What have you been doing, and what are your insights so far?
Well, thanks, John. Thank you all for joining us today. I run Global Impact and Sustainability at ServiceNow. For those of you that aren't familiar with ServiceNow, we are a B2B technology company that's really working with companies to help workflow, create greater insights, and make work easier for people. I would say from Climate Week this week, I am, and I don't know about all of you, but pleasantly surprised with the optimism and the real call for collective action. I think we hear it all the time, right? We always talk about it, but this year feels a little bit different, and I think we're onto something, and I see everyone leaning in a different way, which makes me optimistic for the future.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think it's really started in the last couple of years, but it's focus on practical impacts. I've heard the business case is back. I don't think the business case ever went away, but there is a lot of that practical focus. And so you already talked a little bit about your role. Could you say more about what you focus on at ServiceNow, what you're seeing?
So at ServiceNow, I focus on kind of the broad, when you think about like the ESG kind of spectrum, but what we call, I have environmental sustainability, as well as sustainability reporting and social impact. So where we really see the magic is when all of those collide, and we really think about how are we integrating sustainability holistically into our business strategy and really moving the needle both on our footprint and our handprint.
Yeah, great. And so the comments I gave, I'm interested to know, and totally fine saying it. Anything you would disagree with, anything you change?
I don't disagree. However, I know your study is backed by data, but I will say that I do think that AI has a little bit more positivity in the workplace, and I think we're moving in the right direction. So ServiceNow, we put AI to work for people, right? We truly believe that AI will help individuals and not replace them. So as we think about our products and how we're utilizing it, what I really think is bet number 3 is interesting, because we really have to think about solutions as it pertains to people and move forward in that manner. So at ServiceNow, for example, we always think of ourselves as customer 0. So we are utilizing our platform, and we are actually looking at skills that are needed in 3 to 5 years to ensure that our employees, and we're using AI to generate insights to ensure that they're being reskilled to have the right resources. So in 3 to 5 years, they're really kind of adapting to the jobs that'll be on the market. We actually just had a skills report go out last week that said that 8 million workers in the US will see their jobs changed by agentic AI. Yep. Now, we don't see this as a risk, we see this as opportunity. So it's really our responsibility, and that's why we're utilizing our own product to make sure that we are reskilling. What's also interesting is we have ServiceNow University, so that is training both internally and externally on the platform. And we're really seeing that evolve and making sure that our employees, as well as kind of externally, can be skilled accordingly. And lastly, why I think, people, it's a really interesting angle when you think about AI, is we actually did this report in collaboration with Comic Relief. It was announced last week, where we went across the globe and we asked Gen Z what their perception of AI was. And immediately we all thought, risk of jobs, right? Definitely going to be the outcome, and it wasn't. They were concerned about cognitive ability and creativity, which actually makes me think. About their own
cognitive ability.
Yeah, and about the world, right? They were like, we're worried that there were a lot of very funny quotes, but like one of them was like, it's going to make us dumb. And I think it's just really fascinating, because it's our responsibility, especially those of us that have the power to do so, is to make sure that AI is working for people and it's actually enhancing our creativity and our output and not replacing us or kind of working for us.
Yeah. And I know like a lot of the, you talked about handprint and footprint. I'd like to talk more about that. On the product side, and you touched this, a lot of the impact that you have is what you do with the customers of your software. And so what are you seeing with AI as the most important use cases? Like what's happening in your product portfolio?
So as we think about our products and as it pertains to AI, what's critically important is that we are really creating resiliency, but we're also efficiency. So that's kind of the unique aspect of the ServiceNow platform. So we're seeing a lot develop in the IT space and customer service, and how are we utilizing agents to kind of answer some of these questions and move faster so that people can be doing different types of work. So we're really seeing that on our platform and seeing it evolve further. And what we're actually doing, and drinking my own Kool-Aid, is we have this product called ESGM where it's our reporting product, but also kind of integrates all of our data. So we have these really interesting insights on our products and our customers, and it makes reporting easier for us as well. So it's all of your data is kind of aggregated into one system, and then we can pull insights quite quickly. So my own team is utilizing our product to ensure that we can answer inquiries faster. We all know if you're in the sustainability world, there's a lot of them, which we appreciate. We wanted regulation. However, it's really helpful when we are answering these inquiries to have the data set in one space. Just for a practical use case, if you're in this space, so for example, my team might have 20 data points, and we'll say, okay, on a quarterly basis, we need to make sure that we're asking this question because we report it out in a specific way. Maybe we report it out to the board on a quarterly basis. So it's all kind of generated, and then we get those insights, and we have a dashboard, and we can kind of see the evolution. Maybe some of our data points are only annually. So then we collect that data accordingly, and it really helps our stakeholders too to minimize kind of their impact, and we're not asking them 10,000 questions on a spreadsheet, which can be overwhelming, but it helps us really see insights, and we have dashboards that then we can see all of the data points.
So it makes it easier to gather the data, and then it also helps you get to insights faster.
Exactly.
I think that's one of the things. And you mentioned agents, and I didn't talk about that as a use case. I think a lot of people might know what that is. I always define agents as pieces of AI that you string together in a workflow so that it can do tasks. Is that the way you think about it?
Absolutely. And how are they working for us and with us, and making sure that utilizing the data that we already have to make sure that we're generating those insights quicker.
Yeah. So it's the AI can almost do bigger parts of full jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I talked a bit about and made the argument that both AI data centers are getting more efficient, that we're going to be able to do a lot of it with clean power. I know that you're focused on that. What have you seen in your footprint?
So as it pertains to our footprint, we kind of did our baseline in 2019, and I will apologize, I'm going to read off my cards. It's been a long week, and I do not have all of our data center statistics. You
didn't memorize all these statistics?
I have a lot of statistics, but these happen to be the ones I don't memorize. We've cut our carbon intensity by 60% per dollar of revenue and 50% per employee, basically saying that our workforce is, while we're expanding and we're growing rapidly, we're also shrinking our footprint. And then by 2024, we had our data centers are more efficient, and we saw a 13% decrease in our kilowatt hour points, despite a 283% increase.
Okay.
So meaning we're once again improving efficiency of our products for our customers as well. So I do think, we're going to go on this learning journey together. I don't think any of us in this room have the answers, but I think the more we lean on one another and really start to think about sustainability, integrating into our data center strategy and learn from one another throughout this rapid transformation that we're all going through, I think we can really create sustainable infrastructure to decarbonize our data centers and utilize AI for good.
Great. And just a last question, what do you, and you can kind of take this how you want, but over the next 5 years, what do you see as goals for your team, for ServiceNow, for your customer base? What are the next 5 years going to look like?
I'm excited for the future. I think technology and AI are really going to help us harness, some of our data for good. What I'm really excited about, though, is I think this is a unique opportunity to get it right. So I'll give you a quick kind of stat. So 600 million Africans do not have access to connectivity or electricity. Yeah. For just comparison purposes, there's 347 million people in the United States. That's 600 million people that are untapped potential at the moment. So I think we have this unique opportunity to really double down to say, if we're really going to go on this revolution together, let's start further, back into community infrastructure, and maybe not just start at education, it's important, but really start at that community infrastructure level and say, okay, what do people need to get connected, right? How do we think about electricity? How do we think about the resources needed in communities so that more people can be a part of the digital economy? And I think that's what's really exciting, is we have an opportunity, and I think we're all very nervous we're going to get it wrong, but let's flip the switch and say, actually, we can get it right, and we can use this as a catalyst for impact, where those 600 million people on the continent alone, which makes up 80 to 85% of people who don't have access to electricity on the globe, let's get them onto the grid so that more people can have access to the digital economy, and we can really use this as an opportunity to be the change we want to see and create the world we envision, and maybe not the one we have.